A few days ago, I had a full breakdown over an air conditioner. And I need to tell you about this because it was kind of embarrassing, but it also led me to what I believe is an important realization. That is that the solution to your discomfort or your anxiety lies in the feeling itself. So, some context. Roughly 8 months ago, we moved from Helsinki, Finland to Hamburg, Germany. And if you've ever moved countries, you know that it's never just the move. It's the 1,000 tiny admin tasks that come with it. I still have my taxes in Finland, so I need all my papers in order for that. I've got some ongoing health admin that is so much harder to deal with in a new country and in a new system. I've been going back and forth with Deutsche Bahn about a refund that they just do not want to give me, and we've been essentially talking in circles for months. And honestly, the customer service here, I won't get into it, but let's just say that nothing is simple and everything takes forever. So the other day, I'm working and someone rings the doorbell. Now, a lot of random people ring our doorbell. It happens all the time, and naturally, I don't let strangers in, so I ignore it. And then a bit later I check, and it turns out, oh, it was DHL with the AC. And they didn't call me about it, they didn't email me, they didn't give me any heads up, even though they're supposed to. And the delivery was unsuccessful, and now it's being sent to some pickup point. We do not have a car. I'm trying to call them, but naturally the phone number is not the actual phone number, but just a robot that only speaks German. The app doesn't work, I cannot do anything in there, so the only option for me is to go to that pickup point and hold this thing back myself. And that was the last straw. I'm not gonna pretend like it wasn't. I actually cried like full tears over an air conditioner. And then I did what I always do. I started problem solving. I did my research, I came up with a step-by-step plan, I figured how I'm gonna handle this and then, I talked it out with myself, I cried a little bit, and after doing all of that, I felt fine, like genuinely fine. But here's the turning point. A few hours later, I'm sitting in my kitchen and it hit me that the thing that made me so miserable wasn't really the AC. It wasn't even the admin or the bureaucracy, although that didn't help either. A big part of why I was so miserable was that I had been avoiding discomfort the whole time. And I think a lot of us are doing the same thing without even realizing it. So let's talk about how the anxiety loop forms. A few days before this incident, I saw an Instagram post. It was some psychology account, doesn't matter really, but the idea stuck with me. It said basically that every time you get anxious and immediately start looking for a solution, you're teaching yourself to create an anxiety loop, because you're subconsciously teaching your body that discomfort is not okay. The second you feel it, you have to fix it, make it go away, do something. And so the next time, your body goes into an even bigger overdrive, because now it's not just scared of the thing that triggered the anxiety, it's also scared of the feeling itself. It's scared to feel scared. And the more I sat with that, the more I realized that is exactly what I do. The moment I feel that discomfort, I rush to solve it, which feels productive, it feels like a responsible thing to do, but what I'm actually doing is teaching myself over and over that the feeling is an emergency, that I can't just let it exist. And that's the loop. You create more anxiety by being so unwilling to feel anxious in the first place. So why are we so bad at this? Why are we so uncomfortable with being uncomfortable? And look, part of it is just biological. We have evolved to avoid discomfort. That's just normal. But I think a big part of it is also cultural. Because if you think about it, what society defines as normal is this narrow little slice of the spectrum. It's the happy, merry-go-lucky, everything is great type of person. And if you're not that, if you're having a bad day, if you're a bit sad or anxious, then the message you pick up is that there's something wrong with you. And now it has gotten a little bit better, but I remember when I was a teen, 10 years ago, any minor inconvenience was treated to be cured. If you were just a little bit sad, a little bit anxious, the assumption was that you needed to take something for it. I genuinely remember thinking that if a person were sad, it meant they were depressed. And if they were depressed, it meant they needed medication, which is a really disturbing thing for a teenager to believe. And I'm pretty sure, I know 100%, I didn't come up with it myself. I picked it up from the culture around me. And I'm not saying antidepressants or anti-anxiety meds are bad. They're not. There are absolutely situations and seasons of life when this type of medication is warranted and necessary. What I am saying is that every emotion is a spectrum and they're like different tiers. There's a difference between being sad and grieving and being depressed. They're all different tiers. There's a difference between being anxious and having an anxiety disorder. And we tend to treat them as if they were the same thing when they are not. We've gotten really good at medicating things that are completely normal, like grieving after losing someone you loved. What's more normal and more human than that? And yet, we can treat it like a medical problem to be fixed, instead of a feeling to be felt. And it's low-key the same with the content around us. The only version we see is people being happy and successful and on top of everything. Oh, actually, I beg your pardon, that's not the only version, because we also see another version where people just trauma dumping and everything is horrible and everything is on fire and the world is ending. There are only two camps, really. And nobody's just saying, hey, I'm having a bad day and I'm okay with not being okay. There is no measured, balanced perspective. There is no version of life can take a sudden turn in any direction and that is fine. And we pick all this up from around us and we end up feeling that if we can't plaster a smile on our face, then something must be wrong with us. And here's something else I've noticed. We are so uncomfortable with discomfort, we get defensive. Genuinely defensive the moment anything uncomfortable comes up. Think about feedback. If someone gives you feedback that isn't glowing and you're not used to it, you get defensive. Someone says, hey, don't do X. And instead of sitting with it, you go, what do you mean don't do X? You're actually the one who made me do it. It's your fault. Or someone says, hey, what you said earlier actually offended me. And the response is, can't you take a joke? I think it comes from the same place. We're so uncomfortable with discomfort that we'd rather blame someone else instead of sitting with the fact that maybe we did something we're not really proud of. Because that feeling contradicts the way we see ourselves. And that's uncomfortable, so we push it away. And I also think there is a deeper reason, a more personal layer. And I'm gonna talk about myself specifically in this section, but I have a feeling that it will resonate with some of you. For me, a lot of this comes down to a validation thing, because I look around and I see people who are very similar to me, creative, entrepreneurial, and they seem to achieve much more. And I catch myself thinking, if I didn't have all these admin tasks, I would have achieved this and that. Or if I were just a bit more resourceful, I would have powered through all of this. I wouldn't need 9 hours of sleep, I wouldn't need such long breaks, I would be just fine. But the thing is, I'm me. I'm sensitive, I get overwhelmed easily, I feel stress intensely. And it's so hard for me not to take that personally, not to read that as I'm not as resourceful as the next person, therefore I'm failing. And underneath that, if I'm really honest, is the feeling that I have a starter pack. I have the intelligence, I have the creativity, I have what it takes to achieve the big conventional version of success. So if I'm not there, it must be because I'm not trying hard enough. But that's the trap, because I treat my own discomfort, my own anxiety, my own overwhelm as a personal failure, as proof that I'm not good enough or not trying hard enough. And the lie underneath all of it is the idea that successful people don't feel this way, that the people with the perfect morning routine don't get anxious, that the people who plan their calendars a month in advance don't get overwhelmed by admin. But it's just not true. You can have the best routine, the best resources, the best everything and still get overwhelmed. And it doesn't mean you're not trying. It just means you're a human being. But for the longest time, I took it to mean that I wasn't trying hard enough. And the other thing I have started to realize is that I am constantly chasing this baseline, this imaginary normal state where I don't have to worry about any of this stuff, where all the admin is handled and nothing is bothering me, so I can finally focus on my work, on my pet projects, and on all the creative ideas I want to bring to life. But that state doesn't exist. Expecting to live a life where you don't hit a single obstacle, where you don't have to deal with a single annoying bureaucratic thing, it's just not realistic. There will always be something, and the more I avoid it, the worse it gets. To the point where even small things like going to the store or cooking for myself start to feel like a lot. You can't live in a perfect vacuum where nothing bothers you, because things will keep bothering you. That's just what life is. So what am I actually doing about it? And I'll be honest with you, it's not a perfect 5-step routine for being okay with discomfort. It's more about changing how I see it. But here's what I've been practicing. First, when I feel the anxiety, I try not to do anything about it. This is the hard one. For me personally, fear is the hardest emotion to sit with. I can handle my anger, I can handle my sadness, but fear is really freaking hard because fear means I am not in control. And I like being in control. I think a lot of ambitious women have this need for control, so anxiety really throws us off balance. So now, when I feel that fear or that anxiety, I try to just not rush to fix it. I tell myself, okay, I guess I need to feel anxious right now. That's it. As weird as that sounds. And what I've noticed, the less you push the anxious thoughts away, the less they actually bother you. They keep coming back, precisely because you keep pushing them away. They sort of fight for your attention. So the moment you stop fighting the feeling and sort of invite it in, it loses its grip. Second, I remind myself that fear is usually a sign of growth. I saw this somewhere too, this idea that fear primes your mind for new things. Fear shows you the worst case scenario so that you can prepare for it. It shows you your blind spots, your areas of growth. So I try to remind myself, okay, this is probably an area where I'm growing, and growth is not always comfortable. Third, I try to separate the two kinds of anxiety. There is a difference between being anxious about a certain problem and being anxious about being anxious. And the second one, the meta-anxiety, the fear of the feeling itself, is so much harder to deal with than the original one. So I try to ask myself, okay, am I anxious because I genuinely need to handle XYZ? Or am I anxious because I've been avoiding this feeling and now the mere thought of sitting with it stresses me out? And just naming which one it is takes a surprising amount of the weight off. One more thing I want to add. I have this theory, and I've noticed it with my partner who's been through some genuinely hard situations in his life. He's so much less anxious than me. And I don't want to say that anxious people are weak. That's not what I mean at all. But I noticed this connection that the more frightening things you live through, the more okay you become with fear itself. Partly because you realize the things that can actually hurt you are rare, and partly because you learn, okay, I can handle this feeling. So in a strange way, letting yourself be uncomfortable builds kind of armor against the discomfort. And look, I want to be super clear. I am not on the other side of this. I am right in the middle of it. Right now, I am someone who's avoiding discomfort, so I'm trying to lean back into it. There was a time in my life when I was leaning into these feelings way too much, honestly. So it's not like there is one fixed answer. For me, it's always this constant search for balance, leaning one way until I realize that I need to lean back the other way. But right now, the thing I keep coming back to is this. The discomfort was never the real problem. The avoiding was. And the feelings I keep running from usually have something in them I actually need to hear. So if you are overwhelmed right now or anxious, maybe the answer isn't another solution or another system. Maybe it's just letting yourself feel it, sitting with it, giving yourself permission to be not okay for a little while. And this is it. I hope this video resonated with you. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section, like and subscribe if you found this video useful, and as always, I will see you next time and I wish you a great day. Bye bye!